I'm going to go get some different glasses so I can read this ceremony. And Chosen's going to entertain you while I resolve for a minute.
We can sing the song together. It's a beautiful day at the monastery. It's a beautiful day for a ceremony. Won't you please take the 5 precepts? It's a beautiful day at the monastery. It's a beautiful day for a ceremony. Won't you please take all the precepts? Think of a world where everyone would keep the precepts as best they could. Won't you please take? Please won't you take? Please won't you take? Won't you please take? Please won't you take the precepts? Thank you, everyone. But I'm quite serious. If you think of just the precept of avoiding killing, of course, to live, we have to kill at least plant life. So our very life depends on killing other life. But imagine if everyone in the world kept the precepts of not killing as best they could. And we wouldn't have this barbaric situation of young men being drafted in to armies and doing stupid war and just slaughtering whole generations of young people. It's unbelievable that in this world we still do that. And of course, once you've broken the primary precept to cherish all life, then there's a moral injury that occurs. And then you have post-traumatic stress and attempts to use over-the-counter remedies to cope with that. It leads to addiction. It's just once the primary precepts are broken, or once we force people to break the primary precepts, then all kinds of suffering spreads out from that act. So it's just delightful for us when people make the commitment and say, yes, I will try as best I can to keep the precepts in mind as a guideline for life and keep them as best I can, day by day, hour by hour.
Okay. I'm wondering if people online can hear us if we have the microphone down here. Because we don't have a screen in here, I can't tell. So, Anshin, if...
Probably not. It just needs to be adjusted.
Okay. So we're going to...
Roshi, they can hear you.
They can hear us? Okay. All right, great. We'll just leave it down there. The 5 foundational precept ceremony is the foundation of the religious life. Maintaining and honoring these 5 precepts is common to all religious traditions. Without keeping these precepts, our lives are beset with difficulties and obstacles. Meeting those difficulties and obstacles means to reaffirm and live in accord with the 5 precepts. The 16 precepts include these 5 foundational precepts, plus taking the 3 refuges, taking the 3 pure precepts, and taking 5 additional grave precepts. Altogether, these 16 precepts constitute the foundation for a life of spiritual practice, a life of Dharma. Taking Jukai is to formally affirm that we are going to live in accordance with these precepts. These precepts are not made by us, but have been inherited down generation after generation for 82 generations. These precepts are based on oneness. They're based on the oneness of self and other. And in taking the precepts, we treat ourselves and others as the same. And not rise from us, but are an expression of the true mind. We'll bring the 2 5-precept people up here first. We have 2 people taking the 5 foundational precepts, and simultaneously, behind them, we have people who will reaffirm those precepts and then also take the remaining precepts. Now, for this precept, we all kneel in what we call choki, which means just a right. Yeah, exactly. Perfect. Thank you. You want to do the next part?
Sure.
Bows. The bows. So we begin the precept ceremony with gratitude, and we begin the precept ceremony with appreciation. And the place that we have to begin with gratitude and appreciation is our parents. Without them, we would not be here. So to begin the ceremony, please rise and do 3 bows in the direction of your parents.
North is this way.
And in this tradition, as you all know, it's the embodiment of precepts, the embodiment of gratitude, the embodiment of humility that is part of the ceremony itself.
No matter what our childhood was like, our parents gave us the most precious gift, which is the gift of life. And everything that happened in the past has led us to this moment.
Next, we do 3 precepts to the 3 bows to the one bright mind, to the Buddha, who's represented on the altar. So please rise and do 3 full bows to the Buddha mind, your own inherent nature, which the altar represents. And lastly, this is not a ceremony that we made up. This is not a ceremony that starts here. But as I mentioned earlier, it's been passed down generation after generation through India to China to Japan to Korea to America. So we do 3 vows to the lineage of all those teachers and disciples who have practiced. So please do 3 vows to the lineage, which we are the inadequate representations of.
We don't want to enter this new phase of life carrying a heavy burden. So we have 2 ways of clearing away the burden of what's happened in the past. One is through atonement, and we're all going to recite the Gatha of Atonement together. It should be on the white sheet under your cushion if you don't know it. But first, if everyone would reflect upon your past. Just close your eyes for a moment and reflect upon your past. Looking carefully, we can find hundreds of misdeeds, unskillful actions, and wrongdoings. Some are known and some are unremembered. Some were intentional and some were unintentional. We can't control how someone will react to something that we do. And sometimes another person's awareness twists what we've done and they feel harmed by it. So please bring to mind all of these actions. Misguided actions, twisted karma, which are a burden to you or to others. Now I ask all of you, all 5 of you, are you willing to atone for committing these actions and to release them?
Yes.
I am.
Is it your intention to abstain as best you can from the kinds of actions that harm you or others in the future?
Yes.
Yes.
Let's chant together the Gatha of Atonement. The second way we release and cleanse ourselves for this ceremony is to use water, which is very traditional. This is called the wisdom water. And as each person, as I approach each person, or they lean forward, we're going to put wisdom water in the soft spot where you were born. You had an opening in your skull.
At the Museum of World Religions in Taiwan, you walk in the entranceway and there's a waterfall, kind of a whole wall full of water. And in every tradition, they use water as a sign, as a symbol of purification. Because water washes away everything over time. So whether we're have this particular kind of blessing, or whether we're being baptized, or water is a common denominator. Okay, now 3 bows, please. Reverse those. Know that all karma leads to result, all action leads to result, but confession and setting forth a true intention to avoid evil, to do good, to be a benefit to others, lightens the burden of your body to your body and mind, purifies your body and mind. From now on, please have truth be your master. Let's do the invocation.
Do not be misled by the small mind. Take refuge in the big mind. So now we have a portion of the ceremony called the invocation, which is an invitation. And you might think of people that you wish could be here but can't, either because they're no longer alive, or because they live far away, or whatever reason, and in your heart invite them to be here for the ceremony. I'm going to chant this in Japanese. Namuji po butsu, namuji po ho, namuji po so. So we're inviting the 3 treasures. Namu Honshi Shakamani Butsu Namu Daizu Dai Kyuku Namu Kansei Onbosa Namu Daijin Fugen Bosa, inviting all the bodhisattvas. Namu Koso Joyo Daishi Namu Taiso Josai Daishi Namu Reki Daiso Shibo Satsu, inviting Dogen Zenji and Keizan Zenji. Namuji po butsu, namuji po ho, namuji po so, namu honshi shakamuni butsu, namu daizu dai kyuku, namu kanze onbosa, namu daijin fugen bosa, namu koso joyo daishi, namu taiso josai daishi, namu riki daiso shi, Bosatsu namuji po butsu, namuji po ho, namuji po so, namu honshi shakamuni butsu, namu daizu dai, kyuku namu kanze onbosa, namu daijin fugen bosa, namu koso joyo daishi, namu taiso josai daishi, namu riki daiso shi. Satsu.
Let's do one bow. Now we'll take the 5 foundational precepts. And as Chosen mentioned, if we keep just these 5 precepts, our lives are transformed. If the world kept these 5 precepts, the world would be transformed. And you can all take these simultaneously. Repeat after me. I vow not to kill.
I vow not to kill,
But to cherish all life.
but to cherish all life.
Will you endeavor to commit to this with your whole heart?
Yes.
Please do one bow. I vow not to steal,
I vow not to steal,
but to respect the belongings of others.
but to respect the belongings of others.
Will you endeavor to maintain this with your whole heart?
Yes.
One bow. I vow not to misuse sexual energy,
I vow not to misuse sexual energy,
to live a life of honesty and respect.
but to live a life of honesty and respect.
Will you endeavor to maintain this with your whole heart?
Yes.
Please do one bow. I vow not to lie,
I vow not to lie,
but to speak and embody the truth.
but to speak and embody the truth.
Will you maintain this precept with your whole heart?
Yes.
One bow. I vow not to misuse drugs or alcohol,
I vow not to misuse drugs or
but
alcohol,
to keep the mind clear.
but to keep the mind clear.
Will you maintain this with your whole heart?
Yes.
These 5 foundational precepts were handed down from the time of Shakyamuni Buddha, generation after generation, to us. Now we give them to you. Will you maintain them well?
Yes.
Will you maintain them well?
Yes.
Will you maintain them well?
Will you really,
Yes.
really maintain them? Yeah. Please kneel the regular way.
These wagesas which you have sown are a symbol of your commitment to studying and maintaining the precepts. Please wear them any time you are practicing.
So as you know, we do our best to affirm these and then do our best to embody them in our own incomplete, imperfect way. So may it be so. It's the end of the 5 precept part of the ceremony. So if you would return to your seats, and then we'll continue with the next part of the ceremony. And
The first part of this ceremony is to take refuge in the 3 treasures, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And we'll do that first in Pali, the language that the Buddha used for teaching. This can be found in your chant book if you don't know the refuges in Pali. Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami, Tatiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Tatiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Tatiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami.
please no one choke you.
Now, since these refuges came to us through Japan, I will now recite them in Japanese. Namu kie butsu, namu kie ho, namu kie so, kie butsu, mujo son, kie butsu, rijin son, kie butsu, wago son, kie bu kyo, kie ho kyo, kie so kyo. Namu kie butsu, namu kie ho, namu kie so, kie butsu, mujo son, kie butsu, rijin son, kie butsu, wago son, kie bu kyo, kie ho kyo, kie so kyo. Namu kie butsu, namu kie ho, namu kie so, kie butsu, mujo son, kie butsu, rijin son, kie butsu, wago son, kie bu kyo, kie ho kyo, kie so kyo.
Now we take them in English. Please repeat after me. I take refuge in the Buddha.
I take refuge in the Buddha.
One bow, please. I take refuge in the Dharma.
I take refuge in the Dharma.
I take refuge in the Sangha.
I take refuge in the Sangha.
So refuge here means that we turn our attention to the the one mind, to the teachings of truth, and to the people of our companions who are endeavoring to practice love and kindness and wisdom as the primary refuge for the difficulties, when we encounter the difficulties of our lives.
And now the 3 pure precepts. Do you vow to avoid doing evil?
Yes.
I do.
One vow. Do you vow to always try to do good?
Yes.
I do.
One vow. And do you vow to do good for others?
Yes.
Yes.
In addition to the 5 foundational precepts, the 3 refuges, and the 3 pure precepts, we expand there are 5 additional grave precepts, which in a way are simply extensions of these earlier precepts. So please repeat after me. So these 10, the 5 precepts, the 5 grave precepts twice, the 3 refuges, and the 3 pure precepts are the 16 precepts that this involved with this ceremony. Please repeat after me. Will you vow not to gossip about others' faults,
Yes.
Yes.
but to be understanding and sympathetic?
Yes.
Yes.
Please do one vow. Change the language on this. I vow not to praise myself by criticizing others.
Yes.
I vow not to praise, repeat after me. We're going to change how we do this. It's more interesting. I vow not to praise myself by criticizing others,
I vow not to praise myself by criticizing others,
but to investigate my own limitations.
but to investigate my own limitations.
I vow not to withhold spiritual or material aid,
I vow not to withhold spiritual or material aid,
but to give freely as needed.
but to give freely as needed.
I vow not to unleash anger,
I vow not to unleash anger,
but to look into its source.
but to look into its source.
I vow not to speak ill of the 3 treasures,
I vow not to speak ill of the 3 treasures,
Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha,
Buddha,
Dharma, and Sangha,
but to cherish and uphold them.
but
and to cherish and uphold them.
So these 3 refuges, these 3 pure precepts, and these 10 grave precepts have been handed down generation after generation for over 2,500 years. We now give them to you. We now transmit them to you. We now acknowledge that you will live a life in accord with them. Will you maintain them well?
Yes.
Yes.
Will you maintain them well?
Yes.
Will you really maintain them?
Yes.
One bow, please. And just as in the Wagesa ceremony, we have the symbol of these intentions, which are actually light intentions because they're in harmony with truth. As a symbol of that, each of you have sewn a rakusu, a small version of the Buddha's robe, the kind that Chose and I are wearing right now.
And the characters on this envelope read blood lineage, handed down through living, bleeding, breathing human beings. Dharma name for David Paraska. Jindo. Jindo. Jukai ceremony at Great Vow Zen Monastery on October 2nd, 2022 from Jan Chosen Bays and Hogan Bays. You can put them.
Relax.
It was so sweet to see these three people sewing their rakusus together back in ZenWorks in their free time. The blood lineage. And this document is called the Amyo, which means peaceful name. Your Dharma name is your name that will lead you to a peaceful life. Dharma name for Victoria Cress, Anju, Anju. Jukai ceremony at Great Vow Zen Monastery on October 2nd, 2022 from Jan Chosen Bays and Hogan Bays. Amyo, or Dharma name, for David Kinsler, Kansei, Kansei. Jukai ceremony at Great Vow Zen Monastery on October 2nd, 2022 from Jan Chosen Bays and Hogan Bays.
As you know, we have an option of using or not using this name. In this particular community, people tend to use the name, but it's up to you.
So now we come to the most exciting part, where we let you know what your names mean. And then you'll get a little card to take with you so you know, can remember. For David Paraska, Jindo.
That's J-I-N.
Mm-hmm. Jin is kindness, because when I asked various people what quality they thought you embodied, everyone said kindness. I know you were surprised by that, but you shouldn't be. So Jin is kindness, benevolence, which is one of the qualities of Jizo Bodhisattva, compassion, goodness, mercy. And the mercy is not just for other people, but for you, yourself. And Do is earth. The other meaning is land, territory, country, so we're spreading out. Where the kindness goes, the territory of kindness. Also Mother Earth, and just soil, which you're always working to enrich, and of the earth. So if you put your two names together, you could say it means kindness of the earth, kindness based in our firm foundation, this earth which is always kind to us, taking care of us. Jindo.
And Jindo has been the gardener this past season, so.
And the season before that, and the season before that.
Yeah, a lot of gardening.
Yeah. And then he also worked as an organic gardener in Hawaii for a number of years. And so each of us has a way to serve others, and providing healthy food for people is a wonderful way to serve others, a wonderful kindness. And yesterday I saw a big basket of cherry tomatoes coming in from the garden. And then next is Victoria Kress. Dharma name is Anju. And An means peaceful, tranquil, calm, gentle. It means to give and to have peace of mind. And it also has the meaning safe and secure. Because when we have that inner peace and we can always access it, then we can share it with others. And then we feel safe and they feel safe. So these names are both qualities that you embody, but also qualities to practice with and refine. We can always refine these aspects of our life. So An is peaceful. And Ju is dwell. Dwell, abide, live, reside, take shelter in, take up residence in. So it's a dwelling place. So your name means a peaceful, tranquil dwelling place. Mm-hmm. And of course you have these qualities of gentleness and peacefulness, but you can always, all of us, cultivate them further. And that's what our practice is to look into the little hidden corners of our heart mind and see, I need to work on that. And then for David Kinsler, the Dharma name Kansei. Kan means, so again, when I ask people about your qualities, they mention generosity. Now that you might not think that's the quality that you have, but specifically people said you are always the first to help in the kitchen, to clean up. You're always there ahead of everybody else. So generous, big-hearted, magnanimous, you know what that means, right? Yeah. Broad-minded. The reason you know what it means is because you have a very broad mind and you have read a lot and it's all in there. It also means lenient towards yourself and towards others. So to be broad-minded towards yourself and generous towards yourself as well as others. So that's Kan. And then Sei is spirit or soul or vital essence, vital energy, vitality, vigor. And interestingly, it also means to refine and polish and take care of things. And one thing I've seen you, I'll just give one incident, is we have that, those of you who've been in our big walk-in refrigerator, we have these plastic drawers where we keep jam and miso and various things. And they've probably been there since the beginning of the monastery and never cleaned. And one day I saw you, Kansei, take them out, take them apart, and clean them, like all the little moldy corners, completely. It was amazing. Amazing. So you do have that kind of vigor to polish things and take good care of them and refine them. So Kansei is generous spirit.
I had to give you a name that started with K. So in case I forget, we can still call you David K.
Kansei is actually the name of that the old abbot at Sogenji was called by all the residents. Kansei, different characters. But he was a very, very sweet person, so you embodied that quality too. He hadn't been out of his little house for a long time. He had a lot of pain in his body. And every night, my Harada would go after we finished all of the day's practice. So about 10 o'clock, Harada would go over and massage Kansei-san's body to help him with the pain. So that's how I knew him. But then one day we asked Kansei-san if he would like to go for a walk. And there was another woman who was a resident there, and I went in and made this proposition to him. And he said yes. We were completely surprised. And he got up, and we had to support him on both sides. But he walked, and there's a big, beautiful weeping cherry tree at Sogenji. And traditionally, cherry trees are forbidden in monasteries, as are maple trees, because it will distract the monks and nuns from their practice. Because there's a kind of intoxicated time in Japan when the cherry trees bloom, and everybody goes a little crazy. And also when the autumn leaves turn beautiful colors too. So, but Kansei-san told us he had planted that tree. When he came as a little boy, his parents gave him to the monastery because they couldn't afford to take care of him. And when they took him to the monastery, the priest served him cookies and tea, and he thought, oh good, I'll live here because I'll get cookies. But when he grew up and he became the abbot, he planted this cherry tree, huge, beautiful weeping cherry tree. So it was kind of his little wicked secret that he had done that. And as we walked by, and we were holding him on both sides like this, he picks up his feet like a little child and just like dances in the air while we're holding him. So he had that spirit too. So please have that playful spirit too.
When Sunjin beings receive the Kai, they enter the realm of the Buddha. Truly they are children, progeny of wisdom. And the last bit of the ceremony is Jukai. Jukai is a walking bow in front of each person in the room. So if you please rise. And Anshin will lead you around the room. Please walk in Gasho as a bow. And so essentially they're bowing to everybody in the room in appreciation for your presence here. And thank you. Miranda and Lance, please come too.
And they're asking you to support them in their efforts to live by the precepts. It takes a sangha to support us to do that.
Anshin.